Alrighty, folks, we went 6-3 with a push on my premium page for Monday. We had Jacksonville in college basketball, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, under in the Golden State game in the NBA, Washington Capitals in the NHL, over in that Sabres game as well. And that winning day is going to put us at 5-0 in our last 5 NBA tier package plays, 78% in our last 18 in that same package. Of course, if you sign up for my NBA membership, you're going to get access to that package every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free, going to be included with your membership. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my free pick video here today for Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Happy Tuesday to you. Hopefully you had a great start to the new week. Of course, if you're joining me for the first time here today, my name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on YouTube since 2016. And once again, folks, we are 5-0 in our last 5 NBA tier package plays, 9-2 in our last 11 extra daily picks, 70% in our last 11 underdog tier package plays, 9-2 in my last 11 NHL tier package picks, 5-1 in my last 6 chairman plays. And finally, folks, we are now hitting at 75% in our last 24 Gold Club tier package plays. And the good news is I've got plays going off in all of those memberships for Tuesday. Those plays are already posted and ready for access in the post section. And one thing you need to know about the Gold Club package, it is a full access, all-inclusive membership. It gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. Of course, if you're on the fence about signing up for a membership, I certainly don't blame you. This is certainly a bit of a skeezy business, but listen, if you're still curious and maybe you want to dabble in some sports betting a little bit, maybe dip your toes in the water, you may want to think about joining our daily best play membership. You'll get one premium selection of mine every single day for the next 30 days. The math works out to be just 6 cents a day. That is it. Of course, I have plenty of free content on my premium page as well. And that includes my current overall win-loss record in every single package. And of course, my overall record for my entire sports betting career on that site. You don't have to pay anything to access my record. It's right there in the post section. All you got to do is simply just scroll down and take a look. Now, at the moment, I do currently have 2,110 members who are signed up and active on that page right now. And listen, it was another winning day on the page. I'm extremely thankful. Let's enjoy the win. I don't take it for granted. But listen, like I've said before, job's not finished. We're not satisfied. We've got more games that we're trying to win. I do the best I can for you handicapping these games. And one thing you need to know about me, I don't guarantee anything, especially when it comes to sports betting. Out of all the hobbies we could have chosen, well, listen, I believe you chose one of the hardest ones to be successful at. My hobbies, sports betting and golf. I mean, it's like 2 things you just can't really be great at. But listen, we don't take the wins for granted. It's really tough to win games in this racket. Don't let anybody tell you different. It's really tough to win a sports bet. It's one of the toughest things you can do. So that's why we enjoy the wins, and we look forward to continuing to improve, working hard, and winning more games. Well, like I said, I don't guarantee anything because it is hard to win one game, let alone a handful of them. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We got a handful of games on the 6 o'clock slate. Might be a couple of those games that are on my premium page, so we're going to bypass those, and we're going to start off in the 7 o'clock slate, starting off with Detroit taking on Northern Kentucky. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. NKU is minus 12.5, totals 138. Northern Kentucky's covering in just 34% of their ball games this year, having a tough time guarding the deep ball. The Norse is currently in the bottom 25 in defensive three-point percentage, and they're facing a Detroit squad on the other side who's covered the number recently against the likes of Cleveland State, Oakland, And this very NKU team, that was actually a double-digit win over the Norse back on January 30th. Orlando Lovejoy leads the Titans with 16 points a game, 86% from the foul line. And Grant Gondrezic, he's averaging nearly double-digit points a game, 41% from long range. Now, Detroit games went 5-1 to the over in their last 6. Northern Kentucky saw overs in 7 out of their last 9. I like Detroit minus 12.5, over 138. All right, next game, Lehigh taking on Loyola, Maryland. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Loyola's minus 1.5 at home, totals 140. Now, the Greyhounds are just 11-18 on the year, 6-7 as the home team. Of course, more recently, Loyola took the loss in 6 out of their last 7. Having some problems contesting shots on defense. The Greyhounds are currently 305th in defensive field goal percentage. And they're facing a Lehigh squad on the other side who does a nice job shooting the long ball themselves. Tyler Whitney Sidney is averaging 14 points a game. Nasir Whitelock, double-digit points a night for him. When it comes to covering the number, the Mountain Hawks did cover in 5 out of their last 9. Covers against the likes of Army, Holy Cross, and Navy. And during that 9-game time frame I just mentioned, the over did cash for Lehigh in 67% of those games. Loyola saw overs in 5 out of their last 9 themselves. I like Lehigh plus 1.5, over 140. All right, next matchup, little SEC action here. LSU taking on Kentucky, 7 o'clock Eastern tip. Kentucky's minus 12.5, totals 158. Now, the Wildcats do have a losing record against the point spread this year. They have not been overly prolific covering the number. And more recently, the Wildcats did fail to cover in their last 3 straight. And I'll tell you what, during that short 3-game span, Kentucky was a bit of a nightmare on defense. They give up 91 points a game on average during that short stretch. And that's been a big weakness for Kentucky this year, their defensive play. They're 317th in points allowed, 302nd in field goals given up. And they're taking on an LSU squad who averages over 75 points a game themselves. Covered the number in 4 out of their last 7. And listen, the Tigers have played some pretty tough defense this season. They're in the top 30 in blocks, limiting opposing shooters to just 6 made 3 balls a game. 4 out of the Tigers' last 7 did stay under the total. Kentucky 5-2 to the under in their last 7 themselves. I like LSU plus 12.5, under 158. All right, next game, St. Louis taking on Dayton. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip. St. Louis is not favored in this one. I'm looking for it. Did I pass it? There it is. Dayton is minus 6.5 as the home team. Totals 144 and a hook. The Flyers saw overs in their last 6 straight. Overs against Richmond, Rhode Island, and Loyola Chicago. The Flyers are averaging over 75 points a game, top 40 in free throws. Nate Santos averages 14 points a game, 43% from downtown. And Enoch Butt Cheeks, he scores 13 points per contest himself. St. Louis on the other side, they saw overs in 3 out of their last 5. Double-digit 3 balls a game they're splashing on offense. 6'10" Robbie Avila is averaging 17.5 points per contest. Gibson Jimerson with 17.5 points per contest himself. The guy with 2 last names. I like the over 144.5. All right. Next game, time for some action. Bowling Green, NIU, 7 o'clock East. Bowling Green is minus 4, totals 144. Now the Falcons have a winning record against the point spread, 6-2 ATS in their last 8. And during that 8-game time frame, Bowling Green took the outright loss. Let me start over. During that 8-game time frame, Bowling Green got the outright W in all of those games except... wow. Spit it out, Junior. Holy cow. Bowling Green, 6-2 straight up, last 8. Looked solid on offense during most of those contests. Marcus Johnson scores over 15.5 points per contest, 90% from the foul line for Johnson. And Javonte Campbell averages 15 points a game himself. I feel like Mad Dog Russo when I stumble over my words. But you know what? I get most of the last names right. He butchers everybody's name. It's hilarious. Boomer and Gio, they do a segment weekly just bashing Mad Dog with his pronunciations. But anyway, Bowling Green is facing an NIU team who has not won a ball game in over a month. Northern Illinois is just 5-24 overall, bottom 5 in defensive boards. The Huskies saw overs recently versus Eastern Michigan, Ball State, and this very Bowling Green team. That game actually saw 161 total points, getting a pretty good number on the total here. I like Bowling Green -4 over 144. All right, more action. Akron, Toledo, 7 o'clock East. Akron's -5 away from home, total 164. Akron's 23-6 on the year, 7-4 on the road. Toledo 16-13 themselves, losing record against the point spread. And more recently, the Rockets took the loss in 5 out of their last 6. Just 1-8 against the point spread in their last 9. The Zips are giving up nearly 80 points a game, 6th highest defensive field goal percentage in the nation. And listen, that's great news for Akron fans because the Zips are 6th in the country in field goals, 8th in three-pointers made. Nate Johnson averages over 13.5 points per contest. Tavari Johnson shoots nearly 91% from the foul line. You do not want to put him to the stripe. He's going to make you pay. And, of course, no real surprise here. Akron's currently 12th in the country in points per game, 4th in assists. They get people involved. Now, 5 out of Akron's last 9 did get over the total. Toledo saw overs recently versus Buffalo, Kent State, and Miami, Ohio. I like Akron -5 over 164. All right, next game. I'm pretty sure I saw it. It's more action. Talking about Central Michigan taking on Ball State. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip. And there it is. Central Michigan is -3 away from home, total 147. The Chippewas are just 13-16 on the year, 5-10 straight up on the road. Meanwhile, Ball State 8-6 at home, winners of 4 out of their last 7. The Cardinals are scoring 76 points a game this year, 8th in the country in free throws made. Mickey Pearson shoots 84% from the stripe, dozen points a night for him. And Jermari Hill scores 15.5 points per contest himself. Now, Ball State saw overs in 4 out of their last 7. Central Michigan 5-2 to the over in their last 7 themselves. I like Ball State +3 over 147. Next matchup, Miami, Ohio taking on Buffalo, 7 o'clock East. Miami's 8.5, totals 153. The Redhawks are 21-8 on the year. Buffalo just 9-20. The Bulls also lost 7 out of their last 9. Failed to cover in all of those contests except for 3. When it comes to defensive play, Buffalo's amongst the worst in the nation to do it. They're in the bottom 3 in points allowed, bottom 15 in defensive boards. And that's certainly good news for Miami because these guys have little problem getting on the scoreboard. The Redhawks are 22nd in the nation in field goals, 9th in shooting the 3-ball. Miami averages Miami is averaging double-digit 3-pointers a game, nearly 40% from beyond the arc. Kraft, Elmer, and Byers, they're all making over 40% of their 3-pointers combined. Pete Suter with over 13.5 points per contest himself. Miami saw overs recently versus Kent State, Toledo, and Central Michigan. I like Miami -8.5 over 153. Next contest, Big Ten, Rutgers, Purdue, 7 o'clock East. Purdue's -10, total 152. The Boilermakers are 20-9 on the year, 13-2 at home. Rutgers just 14-15 themselves, just a 300 win percentage away from home. Now, the Scarlet Knights are allowing 76.5 points per contest. They rank 332nd in field goals allowed. Meanwhile, Purdue on the other side, one of the best in the country at getting to the rack. They're 9th in field goal percentage, top 20 in shooting the 3-ball. Fletcher Lawyer drills 47% of his long balls, 13 points a game. And Trey Kaufman-Renz averaging over 19.5 points per contest himself. Now, Purdue games went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. Rutgers saw overs in their last 3 straight themselves. I like Purdue minus 10 over 152. Next contest, ACC, Miami, Florida, taking on Georgia Tech, 7 o'clock Eastern tip. Georgia Tech is minus 9.5, totals 148. And listen, for a team laying just about double digits, Georgia Tech's got a losing record against the point spread this year. Pretty big number for them. I know Miami's not playing great, but this is a large number for a team who hasn't been great against the number. Yellow Jackets also having a tough time at the foul line. Tech makes only 68% of their attempts from the stripe. If you're Miami, just hack them. You know, there's a good chance they're not going to make you pay. And listen, this is a Miami squad who did cover in 6 out of their last 10. Covers against the likes of Florida State, Pitt, and Syracuse. And unlike their counterparts, Miami's actually done a nice job shooting from the foul line when they get there. The Canes are in the top 30 in offensive free throw percentage. Now, Miami games went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. Georgia Tech saw overs recently versus NC State, Cal, and Virginia. I like Miami plus 9.5 over 148. The next game, VCU, Duquesne, 7 o'clock East. Virginia Commonwealth's minus 9.5, totals 136. Now, VCU's 24-5 on the year, 71% against the number. Duquesne, 13-16 themselves, 50% against the point spread. When it comes to offensive production, the Dukes are averaging only 69 points a game, 43% shooting from the field. Now, Duquesne's also had a tough time at the foul line. They're shooting just 64% from the stripe, 336th in free throws made, and they're taking on a Virginia Commonwealth team who hasn't lost a ball game in over a month. I mean, this team is looking really good. Might be a team who can advance in the postseason as well. The Rams covered in their last 8 straight as well, making money for everybody. Now, when it comes to defensive play, the Rams are definitely tough to get to the basket against. They're 7th in the nation in field goals allowed. Just 62 points a game they're giving up. VCU saw unders in 3 out of their last 4. Duquesne saw unders recently versus LaSalle, Fordham, and Loyola Chicago. I like Virginia Commonwealth minus 9.5, under 136. All right, next contest, Creighton, Seton Hall, 7 o'clock East. Creighton's minus 9.5, totals 134. Now, the Blue Jays are 20-9 on the year, 62% against the point spread. Meanwhile, Seton Hall just 7-22 overall, 5-10 in Newark. And now the Pirates' last 10 ball games, they took the loss in all of those contests except for one. Seton Hall is currently 303rd in defensive field goal percentage. And that's definitely good news for Creighton fans because these guys love shooting the long ball. The Blue Jays are drilling nearly double-digit 3 balls a game. 7-1 senior Ryan Kalkbrenner, he's scoring nearly 20 points a night, 65% from the field. And Stephen Ashworth, he's averaging over 16.5 points a game himself, 93% from the foul line. Now, Creighton saw overs against the likes of Georgetown, St. John's, and Providence. Meanwhile, Seton Hall saw overs in 5 out of their last 9. I like Creighton minus 9.5, over 134. All right, next matchup, UNC, Virginia Tech, 7 o'clock East. North Carolina, 7.5, total 149 and a hook. The Tar Heels are 19-11 on the year. Virginia Tech just 13-16. When it comes to offensive production, the Hokies are definitely having a tough time getting to the rim. They're 303rd in field goals, 300th in scoring. And listen, they're going to have to do a better job than that because UNC is a top 30 point producing team. RJ Davis averages 17 points per contest, 87% from the foul line. And Ian Jackson, he's scoring 13 points a game himself, 40% from long range. UNC games went 7-1 to the over in their last 8. Virginia Tech 5-3 to the over in their last 8 themselves. I like North Carolina minus 7.5 over 149 and a hook. All right, next matchup, Memphis, Texas San Antonio, 7 o'clock East. Memphis is 8.5 away from home, total 158. The Tigers are 24-5 on the year, 9-2 on the road. Texas San Antonio just 11-17 themselves, losers of 6 out of their last 7. The Roadrunners are giving up 77 points a game this year on defense, just sending way too many shooters to the stripe. Utz is currently in the bottom 10 in free throws allowed per game. And that's definitely good news for Memphis because they do a great job getting to the stripe themselves. They're 45th in free throws made, 11th in shooting the long ball. PJ Haggerty averages 21 points a night, 40% from beyond the arc. And Tyrese Hunter, he is scoring 14 points a game, 40% from three land as well. Memphis games went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. Utsa saw overs with East Carolina, Tulsa, and Florida Atlantic. I like Memphis minus 8.5 over 158. All right, moving on into the 8 o'clock slate. Temple, Tulsa, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Temple's -1, totals 145.5. Now, Temple's 15-14, but just 2-9 away from home. Of course, more recently, the Owls took the loss in 6 out of their last 7. Gave up a bunch of, points during that time frame. Temple allowed over 83 points a game during that stretch I just mentioned. They're facing a Tulsa team who covered in 6 out of their last 10. Covers against the likes of Tulane, Utsa, and this very Memphis team. They covered against this very Temple team, and that was actually an outright victory on the road against the Owls. DeJuan Odom averages 13 points a night for Tulsa. Keaston Willis, dozen points a game for him, 80% from the foul line. The Golden Hurricanes saw overs in 4 out of their last 7. Temple 5-2 to the over in their last 7 themselves. I like Tulsa +1 under 145.5. All right, next game, Villanova, Georgetown, 8 o'clock East. Nova's 3.5, total 143. Villanova saw unders in 3 out of their last 5. 15th in the country in defensive rebounding. Meanwhile, Georgetown saw unders recently versus Marquette, Seton Hall, and St. John's. Just 68 points a game they're allowing. I like the under 143. Next contest, Baylor, TCU, 8 o'clock East. Baylor's -4 away from home, total 139. Now, the Bears are just 2-9 on the road this year, covering in only 32% of their games. I mean, this is one of the worst covering schools in the country. Now, TCU on the other side, 14-2 as the home team, winners of 6 out of their last 9. Of course, when it comes to defensive play, the Horned Frogs allow only 68 points a game, 31% from beyond the arc. And they're facing a Baylor squad who failed to cover in their last 6 straight themselves, 2-8 against the spread in their last 10. Meanwhile, on the defensive end, the Bears have certainly had their hands full with the long ball. Baylor's currently 316th in defensive three-point percentage. Now, the Bears saw 3 out of their last 5 stay under the line. TCU contests went 60% to the under in their last 10. I like TCU +4 under 139. Next game, Texas, Mississippi State, 8 o'clock East. The Bulldogs are -7, totals 150.5. Mississippi State's 20-9 on the year, but they do have a losing record against the point spread. Now, Texas is just 16-13 this year, but they're averaging 78 points a game on offense. This is a team who can certainly make a run at you, and catching a couple of baskets. This should be an attainable number for the Longhorns. Trey Johnson scores over 20.5 points per contest, 88% from the foul line. And Arthur Kaluma averages 12 points a game himself, 212 total rebounds on the year. And they're taking on a Mississippi State team who failed to cover in 6 out of their last 10. Having some troubles defending the long ball. The Bulldogs are allowing just about double-digit 3 balls a game, 328th in defensive three-point percentage. Now, Bulldog games went 7-2 to the over in their last 9. Texas games went 8-1 to the over in their last 9 themselves. Plenty of overs between these teams. I like Texas plus 7, keeping this one close. Over 150.5. Next game, Big Ten, Indiana, Oregon, 9 o'clock East. Ducks are minus 7, totals 147. Oregon's 21-8 on the year, but they do have a losing record against the number. Meanwhile, Indiana 18-11 themselves, winning record against the point spread as well. Of course, more recently, the Hoosiers covered in 6 out of their last 9. 76 points a game they're averaging on offense. Omar Ballo leads the Hoosiers in scoring, 64% from the field. And Malik Reneau makes 56% of his field goals, 13 points a night for him. And out of the Hoosiers' last 7 games, the under cashed in all of them except for 1. Meanwhile, Oregon saw their last 4 straight stay under the total themselves. I like the Hoosiers plus 7, under 147. Next contest, ACC, Florida State, Virginia, 9 o'clock East. Virginia's 4.5, total 137.5. Now, the Cavaliers saw unders recently versus Clemson and Pitt, giving up only 66 points a game on defense. Meanwhile, Florida State saw unders in 5 out of their last 9. They're holding opposing shooters to just 41% from the field. I like the under 137.5. Next contest, West Virginia, Utah, 9 o'clock East. Utah's 3.5, total 136.5. Utah games went 7-3 the under in their last 10, holding their competition to just 41% from the field. Meanwhile, West Virginia games went 8-2 to the under in their last 10 themselves. Just 64 points a game they're allowing on defense. I like the under 136.5. Next game, New Mexico, Nevada, 9 o'clock East. Nevada's 1.5, totals 148. The Wolfpack saw unders recently versus UNLV, San Jose State, and San Diego State. Nevada's in the top 25 in fewest field goals allowed per game. Meanwhile, New Mexico saw unders in 5 out of their last 9 themselves. Opponents are shooting just 65% from the foul line against them. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they're just fouling the right people. Maybe the teams are playing just suck from the stripe. But regardless, kind of a quirky stat there, but definitely one you want to consider because people are not making their free throws against them. I like the under 148. Next contest, BYU, Iowa State, 9 o'clock East. ISU's minus 8.5, total 149.5. Iowa State, when it comes to the number, the Cyclones have struggled a bit covering the point spread recently. They failed to cover in 6 out of their last 10. Failures to cover against the likes of Oklahoma State, Colorado, and Kansas State. And listen, they're facing a red-hot BYU team who got the W in their last 6 straight, 8-2 against the point spread in their last 10. When it comes to offensive production, the Cougs are making nearly 50% of their field goals, double-digit 3 balls a game. Richie Saunders shoots 44% from 3-land, over 15.5 points per contest. And Trevin Cannell shooting 44% from outside the arc himself. Cougar games went 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Iowa State saw overs recently versus Colorado and Cincinnati. I like BYU plus 8.5, over 149.5. Next contest, Nebraska, Ohio State, 9 o'clock East. OSU's minus 6, totals 145. Ohio State's 10-6 at home. Nebraska just 5-6 on the road. Of course, more recently, the Cornhuskers dropped 4 out of their last 5. Just 65 points a game they averaged during that span. And they're facing an Ohio State team who covered recently versus USC, Washington, and Maryland. These guys have been tough against the three-pointer. The Buckeyes are limiting opposing teams to just 29% from beyond the arc. Now, the Buckeyes saw unders in 5 out of their last 9, throwing out that USC game. Meanwhile, Nebraska saw unders with Minnesota, Michigan, and Northwestern recently. I like Ohio State minus 6, under 145. All right. Next matchup, Wyoming, Fresno State, 10 o'clock East. Wyoming's -2, totals 139.5. And even though this is a super short number, the Cowboys do have a winning record against the point spread this year. Fresno State just 5-24 overall themselves. The Bulldogs are also 4-9 at home, and they haven't won a game in well over a month. Fresno's giving up more field goals a game than any other team besides one. And they're taking on a Wyoming squad who's led by Obi Ogbim, who's averaging over 17.5 points per contest, 45% from outside the perimeter. And Kobe Newton's 92% from the foul line himself. Of course, as a team, the Cowboys covered recently versus San Diego State, New Mexico, and Utah State. Wyoming also saw overs in their last 5 straight. Fresno with overs in 5 out of their last 9. I like Wyoming -2 over 139.5. Next game, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, 10 o'clock East. Vandy's -6.5, total 149 and a hook. Now, Vanderbilt took the loss in 5 out of their last 9, giving up nearly 75 points a game for the year. When it comes to guarding the 3 ball, they're in the bottom 15 in defensive 3-point percentage. They're taking on an Arkansas team who averages nearly 76 points a game themselves, covered in 7 out of their last 9. Adu Tiero scores over 15.5 points per contest, 54% from the field. And Zvan Ivasic shoots 40% from beyond the arc. Arkansas saw 5 out of their last 9 get over the line. Vanderbilt 6-3 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I like Arkansas +6.5 over 149 and a hook. All right, next and final matchup for the video, San Diego State taking on UNLV, 11 o'clock East. San Diego State's -3, totals 131. The Aztecs saw unders recently versus New Mexico, Boise State, and Colorado State. They're limiting opposing shooters to just 30% from 3-land. Meanwhile, UNLV games went 6-1 to the under in their last 7, holding their competition to just 68 points a game. I like the under 131. And with that, we're going to jump into some NBA action. Raptors Magic, 7 o'clock East. Orlando's -7, totals 209. The Magic's currently 4 games below 500, losing record against the point spread. Meanwhile, Toronto covers in nearly 60% of their games. Of course, more recently, Toronto covered in 6 out of their last 10. Covers against the likes of Boston, Oklahoma City, and this very Orlando team. They actually held the Magic to just 102 points in that outright win. Now, Orlando on the other side, losers of their last 3 straight. Just 99 points a game they averaged during that short span. When it comes to offensive production, the Magic's currently the lowest point-producing team in the NBA. They're actually dead last in shooting the 3 ball. Orlando games went 8-2 to the under in their last 10. Toronto saw unders recently versus Indiana, Boston, and this very Orlando team. That contest saw just 106 total points. I like Toronto +7, under 209. Next matchup, Bucks Hawks, 7:30 p.m. East. Milwaukee's -5, totals 243.5. The Bucks are 10 games over 500. Atlanta just 28-33 themselves. Of course, more recently, the Hawks dropped 5 out of their last 7. They're giving up 120 points a game this year. And no real surprise, Atlanta's got the 2nd highest defensive field goal percentage in the association. They're facing a Milwaukee squad who's 7th in shooting from the field, 2nd in shooting from 3-land. Dame Lillard averages 25 points per contest, 7.3 assists. And Bobby Portis averages 13 points a game himself, 7.5 rebounds per night. Out of the Bucks' last 7 games, they got the W in all of those contests except for one. They actually covered the number 6 times during that stretch. Meanwhile, Milwaukee saw overs recently versus Dallas, Miami, and Golden State. Atlanta games on the other side went 5-2 to the over in their last 7. I like the Bucks -5 over 243.5. Next game, Warriors Knicks, 7:30 East. New York's -4, totals 231. Knicks games went 60% to the over in their last 10. They're third in the league in shooting from the field. Jalen Brunson averages 26 points per contest, 7.4 assists. Mikal Bridges gets 17 points a game himself, 49% from the field. Golden State on the other side, well, they saw overs in 5 out of their last 9 themselves, averaging nearly 16 made three-pointers a game. Steph Curry's 40% from three-land, 24 points a night. And Jimmy Butler scoring 16 points a game with his new team. I like the over 231. Next matchup, Cavs, Bulls, 8 o'clock East. Cleveland's 11.5, totals 245 and a hook. The Cavs are 50-10 on the year, 67% against the point spread. Chicago, 13 games under 500 themselves, losing record against the number. Of course, more recently, the Bulls dropped 8 out of their last 10, allowing over 120 points per contest. And no real surprise here, the Bulls give up more field goals a game than any other team. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who averages over 123 points a game themselves. Best three-point shooting team in the league. Donovan Mitchell scores 24 points per contest, just about 40% from three-land. And Darius Garland's 42% from outside the arc, 21 points per contest for him. Cavs games went 7-2 to the over in their last 9. Chicago saw 5 out of their last 9 get over the line themselves. I like Cleveland minus 11.5, over 245 and a hook. Next game, Sixers, T-Wolves, 8 o'clock East. Minnesota's minus 12, totals 221.5. The T-Wolves are 33-29 on the year, winning record in the Target Center. Philadelphia, 18 games under 500, just 22-38 against the point spread. Of course, more recently, Philadelphia lost 9 out of their last 10 games, covered the number in only 2 of those contests. The T-Wolves, on the other side, they're allowing only 109 points a game on defense, 7th in defensive field goal percentage. Minnesota's holding opposing shooters to just a dozen made 3 balls a game. Now, the T-Wolves saw unders recently versus Phoenix, Lakers, and the Bucks. 5 out of Philly's last 8 stayed under the total themselves. I like Minnesota minus 12, under 221.5. Next contest, Nets, Spurs, 8:30 p.m. East. San Antonio's minus 4, totals 225. The Spurs, they're still playing just .500 basketball at home. Brooklyn, they're actually 12-19 in their travels. So even though the Spurs, have been not great, and obviously they've been decimated with the season-ending injury to Wemby, still hanging on, still playing .500 basketball at home. Once again, Brooklyn on the other side, just 12-19 in their travels. Of course, more recently, Brooklyn lost their last 4 straight. Bottom 5 in defensive field goal percentage. They're squaring off against the Sacramento team who covered recently versus Memphis, Phoenix, and Orlando. De'Aaron Fox averages over 19.5 points a night with his new team. Devin Vassell, 15 points a game himself. Both teams saw overs in 2 out of their last 3, respectively. I like the Spurs minus 4, over 225. Next game, Clippers, Suns, 10 o'clock East. The Clippers are minus 2, totals 224.5. The Clippers are just 13-18 on the road. Phoenix 17-13 at home. And even though the Suns have struggled recently, they are still a top 5 three-point shooting team. 4th in shooting from the stripe as well. Kevin Durant drills 40% of his long balls, 26 points a game. Meanwhile, Beal, Allen, and Jones, as well as O'Neal, they're all knocking down well over 40% of their long balls combined. They're facing a Clipper team who hasn't covered a point spread since February 12th. They actually failed to cover in their last 7 straight. LA's a bottom 10 point producing team, bottom 5 in three-pointers made. And oddly enough, Clipper games went 60% to the over in their last 10. Phoenix saw overs in 4 out of their last 5 themselves. I like the Suns plus 2, over 224.5. All right, next and final breakdown for the video. Pelicans, Lakers, 10:30 p.m. East. The Lakers are 7.5, total 232. Lakers are 17 games over 500, 23-7 at home. Pelicans just 17-44 on the year, 6-25 in their travels. The Pels are giving up nearly 120 points a game, second most field goals allowed in the league. It's actually the most field goals allowed in the Western Conference. And they're squaring off against a Laker team who's 6th in shooting from the field, 3rd in free throws made. LeBron James averages over 24.5 points a night, 8 rebounds, 8.6 assists. And Luka Doncic is scoring 22 points a night with his new team, 8.3 rebounds for him. Lakers saw overs recently against Utah and the Pacers. Pels games went 60% to the over in their last 10. I like the Lakers minus 7.5, over 232. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. I like Detroit plus 12.5, over 138. Lehigh plus 1.5, over 140. I'm 5-0. My last 5 NBA tier package plays on my premium page. 78%, my last 18 in that same package. LSU plus 12.5, under 158. Give me the over 144.5 in that St. Louis-Dayton matchup. Bowling Green minus 4, over 144. Akron minus 5, over 164. Ball State plus 3, over 147. Miami, Ohio minus 8.5, over 153. Purdue minus 10, over 152. Miami Hurricanes plus 9.5, over 148. Virginia Commonwealth minus 9.5, under 136. Creighton minus 9.5, over 134. North Carolina Tar Heels minus 7.5, over 149 and a hook. Memphis minus 8.5, over 158. Tulsa plus 1, under 145.5. Give me the under 143 in that Villanova Georgetown game. TCU plus 4, under 139. Texas Longhorns plus 7, over 150.5. Indiana Hoosiers plus 7, under 147. I like the under 137.5 in that Florida State-Virginia matchup. Under 136 and a hook. West Virginia, Utah. Under 148, New Mexico, Nevada. BYU plus 8.5, over 149 and a hook. Ohio State minus 6, under 145. Wyoming minus 2, over 139.5. Arkansas plus 6.5, over 149 and a hook. Give me the under 131 in that San Diego State UNLV matchup. NBA Raptors plus 7, under 209. Bucks minus 5, over 243.5. I like the over 231 in that Warriors-Knicks game. Cavaliers minus 11.5, over 245 and a hook. Timberwolves minus 12, under 221.5. Spurs minus 4, over 225. Suns plus 2, over 224.5. Give me the Lakers minus 7.5, over 232. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. But most importantly, folks, got to thank you for joining me right here on the free video. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, folks, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.